Hey everybody, let's talk a little bit about Pain and Pleasure 101. Hi, I'm Dr. Lisa Ann Homick from Homick Advanced Chiropractic, and this is Brain Snob, episode number 97. I'm glad you're here. We need your full participation in the world, and you can't do that with an impaired brain. So I'm hoping to help you succeed in that way. Let me be your BFA coach, your brain first always coach, because you need a performing brain. And if you've got the 5 annoying signs of brain impairment, let's work on them. 1, stiff sore joints. 2, high blood pressure. 3, GI distress, digestive problems. Number 4 would be fatigue. And 5 would be brain fog, with anxiety associated with that brain fog. I cover a lot of topics, so those are the 5 simple ones. That's a starting point. But the brain makes the body, so you can make your life. And Pain and Pleasure 101. Everybody's worried about pain and seeking pleasure. That's just human. That's the number one human thing. And there's a survival instinct there as well. But we all know we want to avoid pain and pursue pleasure. That's just it. That's like the basic rule of life, so to speak. But sometimes we can get it a little twisted here. Pain should be a tool. You don't want to stop pain any old way, because some ways are just not really bright. You don't want to do, there are fast ways to get out of pain, but it brings on more problems. I'll put it that way. But pain's a tool. We should be learning from it. If we're not learning from it, the pain keeps recurring. That is what I want to focus on with people. What are we not recognizing? What things are we doing that are inefficient and ineffective because we have recurring pain? And in seeking pleasure, we can do it the stupid way, or we can do it the empowering way. I prefer the empowering way, because then it's longer lasting, more meaningful, more rewarding, without guilt and side effects and negative consequences. So let's focus on the empowering way. You cannot be in a state of growth and defense at the same time. Let's talk about that. Your body's nervous system is going to be one-sided. There's a priority there. There's a survival priority that takes front and center, and that would be your fight or flight response. We can call it defense. Who said that anyway? I got to give credit to where it's due, but Bruce Lipton, he said you cannot be in a state of growth and defense. So obvious, one is going to dominate. Hopefully you have more growth in your life than defense. And I don't mean growing taller. I mean growing with homeostasis and healing and the continuous process of regeneration and the cellular metabolism, all those good things, as well as mental growth, inspiration, and feeling like you're living out your calling and you have an important place in this world and you're living your purpose. But that's growth. Defense is when you are just you're avoiding things, avoiding pain. There's one. You're avoiding things that just don't seem right. And the body has a defensive mechanism. Sometimes it's going to get a little bit over-exaggerated. We have to use our thinking brain to discern the difference. A proper fight or flight response compared to an over-exaggerated, no longer helpful fight or flight response. And the brain learns what it's exposed to. Everything you expose your brain to, it's going to pick up, like riding a bicycle. You can be 99 years old and you can get on a bicycle and ride it. You don't have to reteach that. That's how sophisticated the brain is. But you can't be in a state of growth and defense at the same time. Which one is dominating right now? So we'll take a little bit of an inventory here. The prefrontal cortex, right here, the front of the brain, that is our conductor of the rest of the brain. So it does a lot, but it does a lot of producing. It's the productive part of our brain. It helps us get things done. It's the meaningful focus. and we have ample creative outlets. So the prefrontal cortex is our doing brain. This is where we have our personality, our interests, and we dive into getting things done. It's the ambition part of our brain. It's the decision making. And desired learning takes place in the prefrontal cortex, as opposed to habits, things we've already learned that we rely on every day. That's stored in the limbic system, and I'll get to that in another minute. So if you're in a state of growth, then your prefrontal cortex is concentrating on productiveness, producing meaningful focus. But if it's in a state of defense, then it's hyper-focused to avoid emotions, or it's hyper-focused to avoid conflict. It's hyper-focused and lacking empathy. So if you're thinking too hard, your concentration is there, but it's at the detriment of a balance in your life. That's the hyperactive defensive mode of the prefrontal cortex. If you have low focus because you're in a state of defense, you might be easily scattered, hindered, lacking motivation, and lacking purpose and lacking meaning. So you can be both ends. You're in defense mode. Your body's just out of that productive zone, and it's in a state of almost chaos sometimes, hyperactive or unreactive, if that's a word. I don't know. I got to think on that one. Prefrontal cortex. Now, if your vagus nerve is not functioning well, here's what it's supposed to be doing. In the state of growth and calm, your vagus nerve is concentrating on homeostasis. That's just the routine stuff that has to get done. It's easy. There's not conflict. Just things are going like they're supposed to, like your digestion, just moving right along, no disruptions, no hindrances. So you have maintenance. The maintenance part of your body is working calmly, and your vagus nerve can whistle while it works. I don't know. I'm trying to make jokes here. Probably bad. Appropriate energy for recuperative healing. So this is all the growth portion of that growth state of your day, hopefully the majority of your life. But if you're in a state of growth, these things are happening with the vagus nerve. If you're in a state of defense, healing is interrupted, digestion is interrupted, reproduction is interrupted. And if you have vagus failure, that's the extreme, you're in an energy crisis. You're not resilient enough to heal. And there's tissue damage that's also lacking that healing resilience. So that's an extreme, 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 because too much defense. The body was defending itself for too long from whatever stressor that was going on. Because stress should be short-lived. Minutes, not days, not years. Stress is just brief. And then you get back to homeostasis, get back to growth. Our modern world, no, it doesn't work out like that. So we have to practice good things and constantly remind ourselves how to be good to ourselves so we can stay more into that state of growth. And recognize when we're in a state of defense, how to shorten that time and reset back to growth. The limbic system, back of the brain here, that's memory of trauma, good emotions too, memory, because it is going to be linked to a memory. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself, but so that when something similar recurs in your life, your brain knows how to react and say, oh yeah, we did that in the past. We went to the movies and had a good time and laughed all night. That's great. Your car swerves to avoid hitting a deer, and you had that nervous system response where your heart's in your throat. Your body remembers that. It's a survival mechanism. So next time something is in your field of vision while you're driving, you react to it properly and avoid whatever it is. So there's a survival mechanism that your body, brain learns. It's good. It's good to have. But if it's overblown, over exaggerated, that's when you have problems. So in a state of growth, state of calm, state of homeostasis, Your limbic system is at a mild state of alertness. Now that may be an oxymoron, but that's my way of calling calm. It's ready for action, but it doesn't have to at the moment because there's no threat. Information gathering. That's what the limbic system does. It takes information in, stores it in your brain to use at a later time when you need survival instinct. The limbic system is where routines are memorized, good habits and bad habits. They get memorized in the limbic system. Now, if you're in a state of defense, a whole lot of different things can go on. If you're in if you're in a state of fight, all energy is shifted to survival. Your cortisol rises, your blood pressure rises, getting you ready for anything. So your body is strong and can fight, whether it's an animal or you're being attacked. Your body is ready to go to battle and win. You're going to have more strength than you ever realized you had when you're in that state. Also, if you're in a state of fight, you are going to be self-protecting. You're going to deflect direct physical harm. If you're in a state of fight, you might be fighting for fairness. This is more not fighting for your life, but fighting for right and wrong. So emotionally, or the way you're talking to somebody, or just any kind of action you're taking, you're fighting for fairness, or you're fighting for attention, or you're fighting for acknowledgement. I use the word fight because it is a lower level of being assertive and surviving out there in our social environment. When you're in flight, so there's fight and flight. I divided them up into categories. If you're in a state of flight, a defensive state of flight, you are going to shift all your energy to escape. Running away from that rabid dog, you're escaping, you're getting the heck out of there. You're running. Go, go, go. Leaving a situation that you're uncomfortable. Leaving a party, leaving a room, leaving a store. Getting in your car, taking off. That's the flight. You have anxious energy. The anxious energy is shifting to avoidance, to avoid something. Procrastination kind of pops up. That's a flight. You're procrastinating, getting away from doing something and putting it off. Even if you get it done later, it's still procrastinating. It's still a type of flight. Then there's also freeze or faint. So if you're in a state of freeze or faint, you might be in mental shock. You're just like no reaction, like, what do I do now? That's mental shock. You're indecisive, lack of a response. Sometimes you don't know which way to go. And you just, there's nothingness, no response. There's also fear or lacking confidence. Remember, it's a freeze or faint type of defensive reaction. So if you don't have confidence, you're just not going to try. There's also isolation, if you're in an isolating type situation, or there's loneliness, or you feel rejection. This is defense mode, freeze or faint. Also withdrawal or just shut down. These are examples of freeze or faint. Need to mention also the inflammatory response occurs from physical trauma and social stress. The body responds the same way. So socially, within a group, if you don't feel accepted or you don't feel comfortable, it's going to create the same inflammatory response as if you injured yourself, tripping, falling, had a car accident. Body reacts the same way. That's interesting. Interesting physiological response. That's why we know body and mind are connected. Thoughts can turn on chemicals in your body, just like the chemicals are turned on through digestion or ridding itself of a poison or some type of toxic event. And so physiology is very much tied into psychology. that limbic system. That's where it all meets, at that limbic system. So you can't be in a state of growth and defense at the same time. If you'd like to learn more how to conquer those defensive moments, now they're going to happen. They're part of survival, they're part of life, and sometimes we have events that are not fun, but we deal with them. We have our body's defenses to help us out. So that's a part of life. We don't need to fear it, we don't need to dread it, but we learn how to strike a balance with it, make peace with it. So that defense portion, we can't always control when things happen to us, but we can control how we handle them. And that's all a part of the BFA protocol, brain first always, so you can feel more empowered, more in tune with your body as well. Your body and mind, you feel like you are well acquainted with both, and you've got that owner's manual down. You understand what it takes to give your body great, amazing experiences. So the BFA protocol, brain first always, I teach that to people. It incorporates chiropractic, it incorporates nutrition and stress management. It's meaningful and rewarding, and I just can't wait to get to know you better. So check out the blog, look at other videos. They are still timely, even though some are over a year old now. Check out my current blog posting about doctors who jumped ship. I think it's very interesting. It's an ongoing series, and I'm continuing it. It's not finished. And as soon as I sit down and have more typing time, I will add to it. I'm glad you watched this video, and I want you to be that positive ripple effect in your community. Thanks for being a part of it. Bye now.